Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Sequel. This is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts. The first, an interview with an actor or someone involved that made the film worth watching. And the second, a discussion of the sequel, what they got right, what they got wrong, and how it could have been better. Really hope you enjoyed last week's interview with actor Jason Godot, the star of this week's sequel. It's always great to talk to everyone that we interview, but man, when you talk to the star, it's really cool to hear about, obviously, the demand of the job. You're on the screen most of the movie, and just hearing about the interview process and a movie that he loved growing up. Flash forward, 9 years? And he is Doug Masters. Great name. We talked about Lou Gossett Jr. So if you haven't listened to that, after this, go check it out. Before we talk about Iron Eagle 4, which, man, this movie was absolutely the craziest movie I think I've ever seen. So I was not expecting everything that happened in the second half. Dude, I got to introduce you to my partner in this sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome, Doug. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I should have said co-pilot because you're my
You should have.
co-pilot.
And I should have said Doug Masters.
Doug Masters. What a name.
That is an awesome, it's such a tip. Like 80s always had the best names. Every movie, there was always one awesome name. I got to tell you, I remember watching the original Iron Eagle so many times. I loved it as a kid. Obviously, it was kind of a knockoff of Top Gun, but it was just awesome. This is the first time I saw this movie, and I feel like it's two different movies.
It is.
All right. I really felt like as I'm watching it, just the first half, I'm like, is this a kid's movie? Like, it felt like a kid's movie. It was corny. Even Lou Gossett seemed like he was just acting as if it's a kid's movie. And I was like, all right, this movie kind of is lame. And then boy, does it turn. I mean, they become murderers.
Oh, dude. I tried to keep track of the death count, and it's crazy. Like, somebody that didn't see this movie listening to this, it's probably like, death count. This movie, I watched a trailer. It's just about, it is toy soldiers, and not knocking it because I think the formula works because Lou Gossett Jr., he's a legend. He's great in everything he is in. And in this, it's toy soldiers with Sean Astin, but with airplanes.
Plus, it's the United States against the United States.
Yes,
that's not, it's toy soldiers with the Americans, but they're not really terror. I don't know, it's such a bizarre, it really is a bizarre script, and let's be honest. These kids look like they're in middle school. I mean, maybe some in high school, some definitely look like they're in middle school. They're flying planes.
Oh, I know.
All right. We definitely have to get into it. I mean, there's so many questions, and I have to be honest, the first Doug Masters was awesome. I mean, he really makes that movie. I have to give Godot, I have to give him a lot of credit because it's not easy to step in another actor's shoes. He does resemble him a little bit. And I guess that's what they're going for. They're kind of going for the look, but it's hard to do. And I think he did a good job.
Yeah. And the fact that if you remember the second one, they basically kill him off. I don't know if Gedrick wanted to do other movies, but they made it seem like he died right in the beginning. So they reshot that scene to start this movie.
Correct. And I totally forgot. So, not for nothing. I mean, this is, his plane blows up.
Yeah.
In the second movie. So the fact that he's still alive, I mean, they show him with, jumping out with the parachute. There was no parachute in the second movie. I mean, he blew up, So, I mean, I just don't understand what's the point of resurrecting that character. They could have made this movie without him. Like they didn't need Doug Masters. And, he definitely was not the Doug Masters of he took the role in a different way for Doug Masters. You know what I'm saying?
And not to dark. Mention, look what he went through, and all those cutbacks that we see. Man,
that's what it was. I mean, you could tell. I mean, but he also, spoiler alert, he ends up with one of the kids.
But is she a kid? I don't know. And just to add on before we get into it, you said before, these teens. Okay, teens is correct, but troubled teens, teens that are in trouble with the law. One teen that might be a drug runner for the saddest.
Might be. She is.
No, she is. Yes.
And a weapons so she's a drug and weapons dealer.
Yes.
Like, yeah, hardcore, and they're all afraid of her. When she pretends to punch them, like, we'll get there. I mean, yeah. So, but so she's got to be a teen too. I mean, she's probably more like a junior, senior, but they're definitely like the kid with the asthma. He looked like he was in middle school.
Oh, he was young. Rudy.
Yeah.
Was young.
That's what I mean. And they're again. So you're right. They're juveniles or juvenile delinquents flying planes that, first of all, the planes look like they're from 1940. Like they look like the Snoopy planes. The Snoopy, the Baron, like those kind of planes. And they fly awfully close to each other.
And one kicker before we actually get into from the beginning to the end is they actually live here. So this isn't like a school. It's like a boarding school where they're living in these military barracks.
But Lou Gossett Jr. is also retired.
I know.
So I mean, like this whole scenario really doesn't it doesn't make sense. But I guess
I have a theory later. I have a theory later that might make sense, but I want to get into it now. But before we start this, gotta say, if you're new here, please subscribe wherever you're listening, and make sure you review, rate us, and follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. So let's dive right in. This movie,
okay,
come on, how cheap are we? Quick title sequence, but I love the music. That's one thing I love about this, and it almost reminds me like Karate Kid-esque, like 3 and 4 that we covered. That's one thing that was right. The music is the same from the other movies, and you get like that really, I don't know, you get patriotism watching this. I don't know. You do.
I mean, you do, and this movie was what, 1995, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But the music was definitely 80s ish. Like it wasn't like, 90. So like, yeah, they tried to follow. Listen, the music was a big part of the first movie. He only flew well once he put his cassette tape in, and he flew. And that's, that's one thing that was missing with this Doug Masters. He didn't need music to fly, where the first Doug Masters, every time he was in the cockpit, he put a cassette tape in.
Yeah. And there's a part later in the movie that teased you to think that was going to happen again, but it ended up being, I don't know. It was good and bad, I guess. So we kind of covered the beginning already in our little opening there. They reshoot basically the beginning of the second film, and it's Jason Cadeau as Doug Masters. They're like testing out, I guess, these new aircrafts. And I don't know if he was really joking or he really meant to say that to the cockpit, because or the mission control. He said to them, he goes, "Oh, my foot's stuck. I can't slow down." And I'm like, wait, is he like messing with them, or is this really happening? And then the Russians shoot them down,
and then surround. Like again, he parachutes out, and they surround him. Like,
yes.
And honestly, and then he wakes up, right? Well, and then they surround him, and he wakes up. So I'm all confused at this point in the movie. I'm thinking like it was only a dream. I was still trying to figure out why is he still alive, but they made it look like it was a dream, like a nightmare that he woke up. Like they didn't explain that it really happened, because if you never saw the second one, you would think it's a complete nightmare.
Yeah,
like you would. Yeah, so
no, that's sort of made no sense. But like we talked about, like he had to play this in a darker way because he had these demons being in a prison for X amount of years. Nobody really knew he was still alive, so that's pretty like deep. He's super hungover. He's getting ready. He's smoking so many cigarettes in this movie. When I interviewed him, he was like, I don't know. Yeah. It was like what I chose to do with the character. Always drinking Molson. And yeah, dude.
Well, listen, he almost is like a Bruce Willis type diehard, where he's just like, life is just, it is what it is. And he's just smoking, drinking, and, he's kind of like bumming out, I mean, look what he's doing. I mean, this guy was I guess a superstar in the Air Force, and now he's like fixing Snoopy planes.
Yeah, he says later in the movie in the line, he goes, as like a diss to the guy that he's going up against, he goes, "I'm a crop duster." That's what he says, because that's what he's like. That's what his like life is. But just to get Chappy, Lou Gossett Jr. right into this movie, the fact that he should have recognized who he was. The fact that he like saw this guy like just listening to music. So Lou Gossett is doing the music, Chappy, and he's like dancing and just fixing the engine. Does he know how to do that?
And I mean, and not only that, when he does see him, now he hasn't seen him in how long? Isn't it 7 years or something like that? Or I think it was 7 years, right? They went down. And he thought he was dead. So this is the first time he's seen him. It was almost like you've seen him yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, there was no surprise on either end. It was almost, it was just like, all right, yeah, oh, you're here, kind of thing. Like, it's 7 years. He thought he was dead.
Yeah. I'm sure he doesn't really reveal when he found out that he was alive, because we don't even know how long he was really in that prison. But yeah, you're right. For him to show up sort of unannounced, and it was their first meeting since then, it was just like, Doug was like, oh, this freaking guy's coming here. And he's there to recruit him for this bonkers, batshit crazy idea of a juvenile delinquent center for kids to learn how to be pilots.
And they're flying alone. Like, you would try.
Oh my God.
And you got thieves. So these kids have access to those planes anytime they want. I mean, the one girl wants to fly to Mexico throughout the whole movie. Like, I mean, so like these are the kids you're trusting to do, that doesn't make, and I mean, really want to know, why are they focusing on these like old crop dusting planes? Like that's the only plane you see pretty much in the whole movie.
Well, that's all he said he could get. They were like old training planes from like how many years ago? Because you had to think, planes are expensive, and somehow he was able to get free planes from someone. and which I might make me nervous if somebody gave me a free plane. It's like getting a free boat. It probably is going to sink. Free plane, probably one of the wings doesn't work or something. But I do love how he, obviously Chappy has a relationship with the woman that employs Doug, because she knew that he was going to come and try to like lure him away, because she was like, oh, you didn't take it? No. And she's like, oh, it's okay. Let me go fire him. She fires him. And his reaction is so amazing. He's just like smiling and laughing. He like you said, the first half of this movie, it's like a kids movie, and he is having the best time. Nobody on set is having a better time than he is.
Oh, I know. And okay, so he gets fired. I mean, we learn out later why, but Doug does not like Chappy anymore. Like, he's pissed.
Yeah.
Which, be honest, he has no right to be mad. I mean, I think he's acting like a baby. He's acting like a baby. And you know what? I mean, he is kind of wimpy also, because when they show some flashbacks of him with the Russians, he gives up information rather quickly. I mean, like Rambo was stuck to a electric, metal bed, and they're shocking him, and he doesn't give any information whatsoever. And all they did go to him, they said, all right, give me some names. And he's like, all right. And he starts rattling off like a list of names.
Yeah,
he's not good under pressure.
I know. And later in the movie, somebody says that to him, and he gets pissed. Because we saw that in all those flashbacks, because they probably did like 3 or 4 throughout the movie. But when we saw him give up the information, and then like 2 scenes later, we saw somebody like throw that in his face, I was like, damn.
And you know what? I mean, and with those flashbacks, I mean, let's be honest. It didn't look like he was having a rough time there. Like, he had no bruises. He had no bruises on his face. He didn't look like he was getting beat up. Like, he almost looked like he was just at a little camp. You've seen movies where these guys look like they're getting tortured, they're getting beat up, they're throwing no food, like, in a dark hole. He looked fine. He didn't have any marks on him. I think he's overreacting.
It was like a celebrity like rehab facility ran by the Soviet Union. But yeah, no, every time we saw those scenes, you're just like, when is this? Like, what's happening with this?
Yeah.
But the part that I do love, like we kind of mentioned it earlier, is when he finally agrees to do the job, and then he meets Chappy at the school, and you just see the airplanes already in the sky, and you're just like, wait, what the hell's going on? Shouldn't somebody be supervising them? And like you said, they almost crashed right away.
Multiple times. I mean, yeah, they're flying so reckless up there. And it's like if you gave kids like keys to it, they're flying it almost like go-karts, like where you just try to cut people off and you fly as fast and you do those quick turns. That's how they're flying these planes. Like they're up in the sky, and they're so dangerous up there. And like Chappy seems like so calm. Like, okay, they'll be down a little bit.
But you know who's not calm? The other guy who might have been the other flight instructor / mechanic, when he says, because he almost made it sound like it would have been like a pleasure for the kids to take him in the plane. He goes, yeah, damn kids said they were going to give me a ride. And then they locked me in my trunk.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, again, we talked about they're thieves, drug runners, and everything else. Let's give them keys to a plane.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was wrong. They didn't lock him in the trunk. They tied him to a propeller. How did that happen? Do you think it was like a wedgie and then they just like watched him go around? Or
and let's be honest, these kids aren't big. Like, it's not like they're big.
Yeah.
Like, they're all small and skinny. So how did he get manhandled by like 5 middle schoolers?
I'm surprised they didn't have one muscle. Like, they didn't have the like the stereotypes of like the jock, the nerd. They had a lot of them. They had the nerd, but they didn't have like the jock. There was no big person.
Right. They had the adolescent criminal, you know, of each one. Like, each one was the different typical one. But you're right. I guess the one kid that was kind of flirting with the other girl, maybe he was
Peter?
the jock.
Oh,
yeah.
Peter. Yeah. Cause he shows that he has strength at the end of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was able to hang onto a plane that the door's out and somehow it didn't get sucked out of there. You know, so yeah, he must be pretty strong.
Yes. So then we have the one girl who's Wheeler. When she lands the plane because they almost hit, she goes and she kind of starts beating everyone up. And she has anger issues by far, but she starts beating people up. And who she is, her name is Joanne Vanicola. She's like a big time Canadian actress. Like, when I talked about her with Jason, he was just like, oh man, she's like big time. And she's on that big horror series, the anthology Slasher. She's one of the main characters. So I watched this movie when I talked to Jason a few months ago. I was like, dude, she looks so familiar. And then I put 2 and 2 together. But her role in this movie, I don't know if anybody else could have played that role because she is crazy.
Oh, she's absolutely crazy. What's with the haircut?
Oh,
is that a mullet? Is that like a female mullet?
I was gonna say, I hate being mean like this, but she looks like a beetle. She's the 5th beetle.
Yeah, but it's long in the back, so it's not just like the crop top on top. Yeah. It does look like a flat mullet.
Well, was that the style in the early 90s? Because you know who she kind of looks like who could be her mom? I can't think of her name, but if you remember Kindergarten Cop, the actual cop that worked with Arnold, like that's that same hairstyle like that, and they kind of look alike. That's who I thought of when I watched it.
Okay, I didn't see. I went to school in the 90s. I didn't see any girls with hair like that. So
you weren't looking in Canada, buddy.
So you're saying that's like the Rachel of Friends haircut in Canada?
Yeah.
So she's like the Rachel of Canada.
She's the Rachel of Canada. So then so then a few of the kids were pretty big at this time. I don't know if you recognize them. The kid, Malcolm, he was one of the stars of Are You Afraid of the Dark? He was like one of the main. You go on the IMDb for that show, he's like in the top 3. Rachel Blanchard, who plays Kitty, like right after this, she was in a bunch, but she was on Clueless, the TV series. She played Alicia Silverstone's role, and then like a bunch of it, but they really did have like a bunch of people in this movie that went on right after this to do a ton of stuff.
Well, you know, we see this a lot. I mean, we saw Scarlett Johansson as a child, right? And, so you know, you see this a lot with these, you know, crappier movies that somehow
movies.
I guess crappy great.
Okay, great.
Is that a good critique? So you know, like I think when you have a movie like this, that's I believe directed DVD.
It was, yeah.
Okay, so you have no choice but like this, if you're a good actor or actress, you're going to stand out. You know, like because the movie is what it is. Yeah. So I think that's how kids can, you know, if a kid can pull off acting in a movie like this, they can act anywhere, and I think that's what happens with a lot of these kids.
No, that is true. And then Doug gets put on the spot to give a speech. Chappy tells him to do a speech. And he goes, so when I was 9, I wanted to be 12. And when I was 15, I wanted to be 21. And you know why I hate kids. And I'm like, wait, that's what that was? And then he just left.
He left it like almost like do you know why or something like that? And like they were like waiting for an answer. Like you're thinking like a positive motivation coming out. I hate kids. Just walked right off. Well, again, I mean, he definitely has issues in this movie. Yeah. Major issues. So I mean, listen, I don't blame him. He got fired on the spot when Chappy saw him. So he's still probably pissed about that as well.
Yeah, he had a nice little Airstream trailer that he was living in.
And now he's forced to teach delinquents. So yeah.
Yes. Who all have criminal backgrounds.
They seem to be flying fine. So what does Chappy really need him for?
I don't know.
Because I mean, honestly, I don't think he teaches them anything. Does he teach him anything in this movie?
He teaches him how to dance during class.
No,
he doesn't really. He never goes in a plane. He doesn't go in a plane. He's on the ground the whole movie.
That's what I mean. So I'm not sure what. And then even when he's trying to leave, Chappy's lying and pretending like he's talking to someone trying to find a replacement.
That's a great running joke.
Oh, it's great. But again, why does Chappy need him? Because he doesn't do anything. I mean, he helps him at the end, but like for Chappy's purposes, what does he need him for?
Maybe he's trying to right the wrong because he knew that he could have been a star in the military, and he's still pretty young. So maybe one day he could be like a general or a colonel or a captain or something. So maybe he's just trying to, I don't know.
And I'll be honest, I mean, with the whole violent part of the second half, I'm not even sure he kills anyone. I think it's all the kids take care of everything.
Yeah. Now, Lou, again, questionable. We could get into if he really kills a guy. He does punch a guy pretty hard, and the guy falls out of the back of a truck. So maybe.
That's true. Okay.
It's more the kids. It's more the kids that do all the killing in the second half of this movie. So again, you already mentioned it, but man, that running joke throughout the movie of him saying that he's going to get a replacement and his finger on the receiver, or even Doug uses the joke to Wheeler later in the movie, which is pretty funny. So we talked about the flashbacks already, because that's the next time when he gets into the plane, when he sits in it by himself. It seems like that's the first time he's been in a real plane, besides a crop duster. But then we get the scene that really blew my mind for the first time. I mentioned it during our opening, was in this movie. These kids live here. Like, it's not like this is like a summer camp or an after school program. Like, they live there. And Lou Gossett wakes them up singing Deo.
And this is where I'm like, all right, where's this movie going? Like, we're watching a kid's movie. Like, it really seems like a kid's movie, And you're right. They're living there. There's okay. So these are delinquents, and this is like their punishment, I guess. To learn. There's no one else there. There's no adults. There's no guards. There's no are they there on their own? Like, if they don't want to be there, can they leave? It doesn't make sense.
None. Really, because I guess Chappy lives there. We never saw him retire to his dorm, but he lives there, I guess. But nobody else. It is gated in, obviously, to razor wire fence to keep the planes in. But yeah, you're right. There's no other adults because the other guy.
There's no one else there. There's no one else there. And again, Chappy is retired. So is he just volunteering? What's and again, are these kids volunteering? They're not showing what is it called? Parole. There's no parole officer or anything. There's nothing. You would think, all right, they would be checking on them. There's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, there could have been some exposition thrown in real quick, hey, by doing this program, these kids are going to be able to shave 6 months off their thing.
Right.
Who's benefiting from this at all? Really? It's just Chappy. Obviously, the kids are being able to have a cool experience. But other than that, there's no reason for this program.
And they're not really training them for military. I don't know what, the flying is just, it's almost looked like leisure. It's only for competition with paintballs. That's really what they're flying for. It's not even learning military tactics or anything. It's very basic. So yeah, this whole scenario doesn't make sense.
I wonder if they really do that. That's one thing that I was really interested in watching that scene, which isn't a little bit, but we can talk about it now. But when they're shooting each other with paintballs, dude, I was thinking about because the new Top Gun's coming out at the end of this year, I think. I wonder if that would spurn another kind of, not Iron Eagle, but another kind of movie like that, because I thought that was so cool when they were basically tagging each other with paint.
It's cool, but at the same time, if you've ever played paintball, it's nerve-wracking. You're running around, getting shot out. You're in a plane. And these are kids. I'm assuming when all of a sudden you get splattered like out of the blue with like a paintball, you're gonna get a little jumpy. You're gonna get a little nervous. So these again, it seems a little dangerous to be playing paintball in the sky.
Yeah, no, it is definitely dangerous, and especially with all the people right there with these kids that seem like it's not. It reminded me of Meatballs, the Meatballs kids versus the I forgot Tomahawk, Camp Mohawk. Yeah. Those are the rich kids that have everything, and that's the same thing that this was.
And it doesn't seem to be any boundaries whatsoever with the planes. Like they can go wherever they want while they're playing this game. I mean, and they really come close to crashing so many times. Like it's just unbelievable.
So before we finish that part, this is like another when you knew things were getting a little troubling, because we did get when they were doing like the round table when Doug was introduced to all the teens, they were like he was given like a little thing about each one. Kind of remind me of John P. Ryan in Death Wish 4 when he knew a little bit about each bad guy. That's what Chappy was doing. He's like, yeah, Kitty over here is able to hack into any computer, and this guy did this, and this guy did this.
That was so typical, like a typical thing you see in movies all the time. Introducing the characters.
Later on, I have a theory that I think it's going to click with you. But so Wheeler, who is this troubled teen, she's talked to Doug she's known him for what? 10 minutes? We really don't know how long. Is that anything we got the montage? Oh, we might have got the montage already with Doug sleeping in the plane and not paying attention to the kids flying.
Yep.
But she goes up to him. She goes, hey, did you ever think about being a drug runner to Mexico? They're looking for pilots. I'm like, how do you say that to somebody? Like, that's awkward, Like,
well, I mean, she basically has no filter, So again, and she sees something in him. I mean, Doug, when you have an attitude the way he does, and he doesn't care and doesn't give a crap, maybe he'd make a good drug runner.
Maybe he would. Maybe she noticed that like tension between him and Chappy, and he did it right. Obviously, he wanted to leave. He said, I hate kids. So maybe she's like, perfect person to get in on this drug running scheme to Mexico.
And let's be honest, she is super ballsy. So, for her to just come out and ask him, I'm not surprised, because she, throughout this whole movie, she's just like, she absolutely has no fear at all in anything.
Yeah. No fear at all. So then we get, during the competition, we meet who's like a legendary Canadian actor, Al Waxman, who plays the general, Major General Brad Kettle, who's friends with Chappy. I guess they go way back because they have a bit of a relationship. But at that same time, Kitty almost crashes her plane. It starts smoking. It takes a nosedive, and somehow she luckily saves herself.
And again, they don't seem that concerned.
No, not at all.
Like I panic when there's a little turbulence in a plane.
Yeah.
And this kid's plane is on, like, is smoking, like you said, smoking, and cool, calm, and collective. She's a little nervous, but not like your plane's going down. Like, and she's a kid, not too many people can handle something like that. And she does it fine. Like these kids are like the bravest kids ever.
No, dude, the stuff that they do in this movie, you're right. So here's the part that confused the hell out of me. So there's a competition going on, right? So wouldn't you think in this competition, your plane takes off and then the opposing plane takes off and then you're trying to shoot each other with paint? So how does Wheeler and Rudy end up just landing at some random base somewhere? And she goes there to stop and discuss drugs with her drug dealer, Luther.
Oh, don't they realize first of all, she's missing? Like, it's an open airspace. So you're seeing the planes take off and you're seeing the planes in action. You don't think anyone can see the plane going off on its own, and then wondering where the plane's going? Yeah.
And this scene's absolutely bonkers.
You going to show it?
Yeah. So let me do the play-by-play. She tries to get over on Luther and give like sugar instead of cocaine. And then she somehow beats up. How many guys are there?
There were four guys there. Don't forget, in the beginning, before that, when she first gets there, she pretends to punch him and they all back off.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So, you know what? She almost has like the Pat Benatar look.
Yeah, no, and Pat Benatar saw it, and then I just noticed her grab the grenade. Like rewatching this,
Yeah.
that's what
Oh,
I
yeah.
was thinking about later. I'm like, where does she get a grenade?
No, yeah. She grabbed on her way out. And first of all, these drug guys, I mean, they own tanks. What drug dealers? And the guy looks like he could be a singer from Metallica.
Yes, and the fact that, oh my god, dude, I can go talk about this forever. The fact that trying to murder her over probably what's like, I don't know, a couple grand in like fake coke, and the guy sucks. He can't hit her at all.
Oh.
And here's the part that I talk about. She throws this grenade into empty barrels, and somehow it is the largest explosion ever. This guy runs out, and somehow he's how far away, and he somehow catches up to her when she's on the plane.
You know, well, I also love the dramatic dive that she does in between the two, trailers, and then you see her run off. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Again, she's obviously a delinquent, so she's got to be. Let's just say she's a senior in high school. I mean, she's obviously older than the other ones. You're going to tell me this girl, senior high school, is able to take on, first of all, how bad of a drug dealer gang do you have to be that a senior in high school girl is taking you all out?
The worst. And the fact that he looked like the ginger from Children of the Corn and the Burbs, that's all I could see. I don't think that was him, but the fact that guy is holding the Uzi and you see the blanks coming out and he's like not even aiming towards her.
Oh, they're almost as bad as the greaser gang in the Warriors.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
You remember those guys? They wore the dirty t-shirts and
but the grenades. That's the whole point. I wanted to show that clip for people who are watching. If not, we just did a little like play-by-play like John Madden and Pat Summerall. Just the fact that was a large explosion. And later in the movie, when we go back to that same place, nothing. You saw how big that was? Luther was pretty close to that. And I'm like, at this point, I thought he was dead. I thought we saw our first death. Was
this a scene that his money blows up, or is it later on?
That's later on. I'm being honest. At this point, I thought he was dead.
No, I thought the whole gang was dead. Yeah. I mean, that explosion, the way as the size of it should have taken out that whole area, the whole building. Yeah. I mean, listen, when you see a grenade go off in the movies, you see an explosion, but usually it's like one guy flying off, not a massive explosion like that.
No.
And they look like, you're right, they look like empty barrels.
Yeah. They look like old rusty barrels that, I don't know, maybe for that day they poured jet fuel in them or something.
You know what? You forgot one line the drug dealer said that I thought was the best line in the movie.
What?
So I think she goes,
"Hey, Luther. How's business?"
"It grows painfully, like hemorrhoids."
I thought you were going to say when he goes, "Kill the little snot rag." So then, how close are they to the actual like Air Force battle? Because somehow Doug, who just happens to think, "Let me go in this plane," even though he's drinking like an hour before this competition, he goes in the plane and finds them and then makes them go in.
Well, he is Doug Masters.
He is Doug Masters. Holy shit. And just the fact that they are doing, we know watching it that these are like professionals, but at the same time, they're supposed to be the kids. They are doing like, it was like the movie Step Up or like Breakin', but with airplanes, because they were going back and forth doing tricks.
So which makes me think, how long do you think they're in that school to be able to fly a plane? I mean, again, when you fly a plane, you have to fly for a certain amount of hours with someone. So, which is a long time. But to do tricks like that, I would think it takes years of flying, to get to that level of the way they fly.
Yeah.
I don't think they were there for years. Like, it almost seems like they're kind of like new recruits.
Well, that is true. No, that is true, because one of the cops that I always remember, he's one of the board members in Tommy Boy. He's in a million things, but that's what I remember from. He was the dickhead cop. He said, "I want these kids out of here." He made it seem like it was like so fresh that those kids were there because he was like, "I just want these kids to go back to prison." So it seemed like it wasn't that long. So how do they even? First of all, how do they learn how to fly? Like you said, because it does take a ton of hours to do that. But how long does it take to do those stunts? How do you learn that?
That's what I mean. Like it's they seem way too loose in the plane for the limited time that they're on that ranch or whatever they are. So yeah. So I mean, they must be quick learners.
They are, and this is like our turning point. I don't know how far into the movie. I think we were kind of like overestimating before. It's like less than half of the movie. I think it's like the first 20 minutes. I think that scene is at like 21 minutes because when I cut that clip. But the fact that Doug's like, "Hey, land on that empty Air Force base. That should be fine. Go land there." And where this movie went again? First of all, drug dealers being involved. Okay, they're juvies. Maybe that makes sense, right? But the fact that the military in seconds when they're like, "Who are those kids?" "Oh, they're just a bunch of kids. I think they go to the flight school down the road." And he's like, "Kill them." I'm like,
"Kill them."
Whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
And they start shooting at these kids. Like this is where it starts making a turn.
Yes.
Now, the only thing I'm thinking of, because later on they pretend to call their parents or something. Maybe they're all military brats.
Oh no, that was fake to get information.
Okay, so they weren't real. Okay, I know it was fake, but I didn't like. They made it look like I was a little confused. Maybe they were military brats.
Yeah.
Right, so
they were trying to get like
mind.
the location of something because they were like, because remember it was like the one kid asking for his dad. I haven't seen my dad in a while. And then the girl was like, "Well, he left a pregnant woman. Do you like that?" It was like, okay. But no,
yeah. All right.
That's what that was. But the fact that they landed, I don't think those kids could have even seen from that high up or while you're landing, how fast you're going, that these guys pulled this canister out of the ground, which at first I had no idea. Did you have a guess of what it was?
I thought it was some kind of nuclear weapon.
Oh, okay.
Like it was just, that's what I mean. Again, I just based on what was going on in the movie, that's what I was assuming right away. Because it's military, what else would they be looking for?
Yeah, I just, for some reason, where it was buried and everything, I'm like, is this like more drugs? Is this like a ton of money or something? But the story of what it is, when we get to that later, is pretty badass. And the fact that that guy accidentally turns it on, the one nerdy military guy with the glasses, he looks familiar. He looked like the guy from Child's Play 3. I don't think it was him.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly like that nerdy guy. So yeah, they found this canister. Somehow it starts counting backwards, 48 hours. What's going to happen in 48 hours? And why wouldn't they have known this? They pulled this thing out of the ground. They had no guess that there was a timer that could like self-detonate whatever this could be, nuclear or what.
Like, okay, do they explain who planted that there?
No.
So that, I mean, that's a big, like, where did it come from? How did they know it was there? And like, why is it buried?
The only guess I have is later in the movie, they all know about it. So I'm guessing they just hid it there. But why would you hide it there? Why wouldn't you just exchange it? Here, I'm going to park my truck, open the trunk and take it out. Why would you bury it in the ground like that?
Yeah.
No, that is true. So then the kids get back. They tell Chappy. Chappy tells General Kettle, because they're close, what's going on. And then they reach out to like the Air Force, like upper echelon. And now they're just trying to figure out what was going on. But the one thing that Doug noticed was like the first two numbers or the first two letters on it. And it was like TX or something. And he's like, "Oh, Doug, that's toxic waste. That's nuclear." And it's like, whoa. Okay, this movie is now a nuke. First of all, we have a high school girl, drug runners beating guys up, throwing grenades. And now we have possibly a nuclear bomb. And
again, all against kids.
All against kids.
So they have enemies with the nuclear bomb, people in the military, and the drug runners.
Just a normal day at Chappy's flight school. That's it. So then at the same point, they're talking with each other. It's Chappy and Doug, like in this room. They have to be smart, but they're not. They talk about everything, and the guys are eavesdropping the whole time.
Yep.
Like the Air Force guys, they know exactly what they're talking about. And then this is when this is where it gets revealed, like everything. Doug says his gripe. He's pissed about Chappy because Chappy didn't come and get him, which I agree with you.
He blew up in front of everybody. And let's be honest. I mean, if you're seeing that, and Chappy saw the plane blow up, I believe in the second one, he saw it blow up, right? Like, okay. So you don't think you're going to see someone jump out with a parachute? Yeah. If you're watching the explosion, you're going to see someone come out. I mean, it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't see that, first of all. So if Chappy thinks you're dead, why would he come look for you? You know, I mean, and he said the politicians are the ones that figured it out.
Yeah. He really wanted to rub that in. Those politicians got me out. You did nothing. And then Doug's leaving at the same time. Wheeler's going to steal the plane. And then Rudy, the 12-year-old kid, tries to convince her to stay. And then good old Chappy right there to give her a cup of coffee.
Where does this movie take place? Do you know?
Well, it's filmed outside Toronto. Where
no, but in the movie, yeah, you know.
I would guess the southern part of the United States, because they keep saying Mexico, like it's not far.
That was my concern. Like that plane, depending on where you are in the United States, is not making it into Mexico. You know, I don't even know if it can make it more than 2 hours. That kind of plane, like that's the small. I'm sure that small fuel tank. So you know, unless they're like super close to Mexico, she's not going to Mexico.
Yeah, and it was way too. Not saying the southern part of the border, the United States. Not saying it's not beautiful, but it's really not that lush and green. So obviously, it's the Toronto, like in Jason Takes Manhattan. Vancouver is, you know, coastal New Jersey. You know, there's mountains in New Jersey. But no, that whole part, the fact that she's like, yeah, I'm going to go to Mexico. But I love that Chappy is like that father figure. And I don't know where he could have been hiding, because it's got to be very echoey in that, you know, little, like, whatever they're called, like you hang.
Oh, there's only 5 people that live there. So you're not going to hear any background noise.
He just like is already in the plane, sort of like leaning over, and he's like, coffee before you go.
You know, he's you know, I know you referenced Toy Soldiers. I feel like he's playing the exact same role that he played in Toy Soldiers.
That's what I mean. Yeah. He was just more of a hard ass in Toy Soldiers, because
yes.
he was the principal of the school, and he was really hard on all those kids, like Sean Astin. He was super, well, all those guys, Will Wheaton.
They were a pain in the ass though. So, I mean, I don't blame him.
That movie's the best. I'm watching that.
It really is. When did it come out? Did that come out?
92, 93. Before.
Oh, so Toy Soldier was first.
Toy Soldiers was first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you saying there's a correlation between this and Toy Soldiers?
Oh, 100%. I guarantee whoever wrote this movie or the studio was like, hey, Lou works great with kids and it works on screen. But at least in this movie, the villain isn't as good in this movie. Well, it's a secret kind of villain, which we'll get to. But in Toy Soldiers, that guy is great.
It's awesome. No, the movie's great.
Yeah. So then we get, dude, and then this is where it gets even crazy. Well, I don't know. How can it keep getting crazier? It does. Because now from this point, the Air Force like calls the cops on these kids. You have school buses coming to pick all these kids up and to take them away. And these kids escaping. So they're on this bus with cops with guns and Wheeler.
3 cop cars, by the way. And it's 3 cop cars.
Yes. And Wheeler already took the plane because I think Chappy let her take it, right? I think he let her take it. And she,
because he knew it's not going to make it in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, all right, yeah, go ahead, go fly to Mexico. You know, he knows that she'll probably end up calling him like an hour later. I'm only, you know, an hour away. Can you help come get me?
Dad, can you pick me up? I ran out of gas. But she does like Doug's move that he does, right? Doesn't Doug do it before this? That's why she wants to try. Oh, no,
yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes. No. Yeah.
Yeah, Wheeler does this move, and then Rudy tries to repeat it later in the movie.
Correct.
But she does that, and somehow the turbulence, right, like shakes everything. And then these kids take over a bus with cops.
Well, based on what they do the whole movie, I'm not surprised. Listen, the military, the cops, and the drug runners, then combined, they're not the smartest group of people.
No, they're not. But it's just crazy because none of these kids are like hard felons.
No, they're not. And they're like, they're kind of like nerdy, you know?
Yeah.
So like, yeah. So yeah, it does all this, except for Wheeler, none of this makes sense. And I've said that 15 times now, that none of this makes sense. And there's like 5 other times I'm going to say it because really the rest of this movie, none of it makes sense.
And then Wheeler even has a line. She goes, "I'm coming for you, Wilcox." And then that's when she starts, before she even does that, she shoots paintballs at the bus too. So all of this is happening. And how about Dana when she takes his gun and she points it at Wilcox's dick and says, "One wrong move and you'll be Captain No Cox." That's the best line in the movie.
And again, she's probably like a freshman or sophomore in high school, you know, and she's willing to, again, like she's taking the law to a whole nother level now. You're drawing a gun against a cop. Like the crimes that these kids do the rest of the movie are insane.
Yeah, they can have a sequel, like they can have Iron Eagle 5, and it would just be like a John Grisham movie. It would just be like Court. It would be like all the, because they still have to get in trouble for this, right?
Oh, well, you assume if they're at, you know, they're forced to do this fun camp that they're at, they're on probation. So if you violate probation, you know, you're going back to jail, or your days in jail are even longer. So by the end of this movie, they should have life in prison.
But really, at this point, they know that something is happening with the Air Force and they're doing something shady. But are they thinking when they're getting taken back to juvie that they're going to be murdered? Like, why would they take the draft? Wouldn't they be like, all right, there's adults involved. Chappy knows what he's doing. I'll just
let him handle it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, they are juvies, and you know, they might have. You know, I don't know. Now, you know, I was going to try to find a reason, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense why they would take it to this level.
Like, she's going to murder a cop, like shooting him in the dick. He's going to bleed out. He's going to bleed out.
I mean, if you get shot there, it's not really murder. I mean, you could still live if you get shot in your dick.
But is that really living?
Well, I mean, it depends. How often you use it.
So then they take it over. I love when they take over the bus and they handcuff these 2 cops and they just like strand them in the field, and then they run over the cops. I don't even think there's cops in the other cars. I think they're empty cars, I think. But they just run over those 2 just for the hell of it.
The way the cop cars all just like crash is so ridiculous. Like they've never driven a car before. Like every single car like spun out and crashed out of the way. Ridiculous.
And it looked like those cars, like when the bus was running into them, it looked like they were just like prop cars that they had nothing in it because they moved so easy. And then these kids, you have Chappy and Doug, and they're just like, oh man, what are we gonna do? And they show up.
And Chappy was laughing at the damage. Like he thought it was funny.
I'm sorry. They were driving. They were following in a van. That's what it was.
Yes.
They watched everything.
And they were laughing at what was going on. Like he thought it was funny. Like, these silly kids.
Yeah.
What will they do next?
And what's his next thing? He goes, "Give me that gun." So he takes the gun from Dana and he goes, "Okay, they're gonna be here soon. Get all those planes in the air." So I'm like, whoa, he's like aiding all of this. These kids are just gonna be like,
the rest of the movie, he's definitely an accomplice to the rest of the crimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he's aiding. Was it aiding and abetting? Or
something like that,
yeah. Okay.
I think that's right. If there's any cops listening, give us at sequels only. Let us know exactly what that phrase is, because embedding and abetting, I don't know.
There is a funny part coming up, I thought, when they said, "Oh, it's not like they can hide it in haystacks," something like that.
Yes.
And the next scene, they're putting hay all over the.
I love that. That was funny.
That was funny.
So one really cool, heartfelt scene. It really shows, like, obviously Lou Gossett Jr. We know like his chops, but like Jason, for this being his first feature film and his love of theater, like still like he's performing, doing it at the Shaw Festival in Toronto. And this scene was like really heartfelt. Like when you have Chappy apologizing to him for abandoning him, and you just like feel like, holy shit, this movie that was just batshit crazy. People are trying to kill these kids, like the military. And then it slows down and you get like this really heartfelt scene. And then Chappy gives him a tape and you're like, all right.
Yeah. You know, I was hoping it was his tape from the first movie, that song. I forget the name of the song, and
I couldn't think
from the first movie, but it was so awesome. It's like Iron Eagle, I think, might be the name of the song, like the theme song of the movie. And it would have been so cool if that was just like if you played it when he was in the air. I mean, that would have been like perfect.
Yeah, but we'll talk about it when he does play
that.
it. But the thing that was kind of weird is like right now he apologizes. He kind of like opens up to him and tells him like, "Hey, I'm really sorry." They kind of bro it out,
He apologized a few times to him. So I mean, again, he was like a father figure to him in the first movie because he helped him get his father from the first movie.
Yeah, and then this is another flashback right from Doug, and this is a part that Jason was telling me was like the worst thing he hated shooting was just getting dragged around in the snow by the Soviets. But then from there, this is like one thing I wrote down, and we mentioned it sort of in a bunch of ways, but like you have like the Air Force, okay, that has like how much of those planes? $500 million each, like how sophisticated some of these like jets are, and you're in these yellow, like you said, Snoopy planes. Like you really have no chance, right? Not these kids.
No, yeah. Again, you have a team of middle school and high schoolers going against the military. I mean, like they really make the military so weak in this movie. If this is like the real military, because it's like they're horrible. If they can't handle middle school and high school kids, how are they going to handle Russia, China, any other country that we're dealing with?
Exactly. This is like Red Dawn.
Oh yeah,
Wolverines. A bunch of high school kids took out 2 communist regimes.
Yeah. I just wish it wasn't the U.S. going against these kids. Like I don't know, because there was a lot of military people involved in this whole situation. So like I don't know how deep it goes, and it just I have the United States. I think I would have liked a terrorist kind of feel to it.
No, that could have been better. And then it was just confusing because we only met like how many heads of everything, and then at that in the last act, we meet people we've never seen before. And
well, you know what? You also don't know who's bad in the military, who's not. When you meet all these characters, so like that was a little confusing too, because even the characters ended up being good. I thought they were on the bad side.
Yeah. So then when Doug shows up again, when they all meet, he throws them a bag. So here's my theory. You ready? Okay. So in this movie, all right, in like this alternate version, Chappie's gone crazy. Because when you think of this next scene, when he is in this room and he's talking to all these kids, he's wearing his full like colonel or general uniform and he's talking to these teenagers. Then flashback to the beginning of the movie when he is introducing all the kids. Each kid, no 2 kids had the same level of like crime. So there's the one kid that's the hacker, the girl that can get the guns. So he like handpicked these kids for this moment to happen one day.
Wait, first of all, doesn't Masters give Chappie that uniform?
That's what I mean. He gives him that bag. Yeah.
So okay. So you think he handpicked these kids because he's going crazy?
Dude, he's going in this scene. He looks crazy when he's like, okay, Wheeler, can you get guns? What?
Okay, you know what? So now you made me think, as you're saying that, what if this is a Fight Club scenario? Those kids don't exist. Chappy's the one taking out the military people. He's the one flying, but he has the kids in his mind are doing everything, but it's really him.
First rule of Flight Club. Don't talk about Flight Club.
All right, mic drop right there.
But no, I'm telling you, when I watched that scene, it was like midnight last night, and I was on like no sleep, and I'm watching this scene. I was like, dude, he's crazy right now.
Well, considering that from this point on, he's committing crimes of stealing uniforms from the military, stealing guns, he may be crazy. And again, you're making me think it's possible that he's just thinking this whole thing up, because you know what? What are the odds of middle school kids flying planes? Not that good. That's so true. It would make sense if he's up there.
How's he flying 4 planes?
Well, how do you know there's 4 planes?
Oh, that's true. In his mind, he sees 4 planes. But no,
correct.
At this point, they know, right? The cops that are arrested, they know that these kids escape, and they know that Chappy looks out for them, which he's only known him 3 weeks, and he's like putting his neck out for him. Wouldn't they have his photo anywhere and be able to say like, hey, if this guy shows up, don't let him in? He sneaks into some pretty like classified places, just like walking in.
Well, he goes, yeah, I'm taking toilet paper in, because he takes that truck of the toilet paper.
That's funny. Yeah.
The bathroom supplies. I mean, so really, you can just say anything you want to the guy up front, and you're like, all right, and as long as you're wearing a uniform, you can go right in. Another
trope in movies, like the morgue employees that are creepy, it is the people that are at the gate, like the most important thing. They should be the most qualified people, because if criminals and people don't get in somewhere, then the crimes won't happen inside.
They're the front line, and they're usually the dumbest people. Mm-hmm. Again, you're right. You would want the most observant, the most intelligent people at that desk, at that front gate, making sure only the people allowed in go in. No, it's usually the dumbest people that, all you got to do is say, tell them who you are, make it up, and tell them what you're bringing in. And they're like, okay.
So then we get now Chappy tells Wheeler to get the guns. So it's Doug and Wheeler going to get the guns. And
you realize how wrong that is? He's telling these 2 kids, go get the guns from drug dealers.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous.
And this is where I said earlier, when they land at that place, and I'm like, wow, this place looks familiar. I'm like, wait, this place blew up. This place is gone. Why are we thinking that this place is standing still? But no, everything's fine. And she even says, screw you, Luther. She whispers it. But that's where my mind exploded, because she says, screw you, Luther, pointing to his trailer. And I'm just like, okay, it's his trailer. It's like if you drive past an ex-girlfriend's house when you're in high school and you flip off the house. I don't do that. But if you were to do that, they don't live there anymore. You're just doing it for the sentiment. So that's what I thought happened here. I thought she did that as a sentiment. Then we cut to him inside playing solitaire.
And again, and this is where he keeps his money, correct?
Yes.
Now, would you keep it just in a trailer?
How's he living there? He lives on a base.
Well, how did he get the base? Because he has as much military equipment as the military, because he's driving around in a tank later on.
And then this is the part with one thing I didn't think I would see is Doug Masters murders a guy. A guy comes up with a gun, puts the gun way too close to him anyway. It's not like he was going to shoot him. And then Doug takes the gun, turns, and shoots a guy.
And he seemed okay with it.
He was okay with it.
And this, I believe, is the beginning of the rest of the murders that are going on.
There's a lot of murders. It's funny, if you search Doug Masters Iron Eagle 4, one of the gifts that comes up, for gifts, it's him when he walks into, after he shoots that guy, and Wheeler's like, where you been? And he's like, I don't know, I've never had a gun before. And he's just waving it around, he's probably like, what the hell's what did Chappy get me into?
Well, then if he's never held a gun before, how did he kill this guy in one shot?
I'm sure when he was in the Air Force, up until that, I'm sure you trained to shoot a gun. Did you carry a gun?
I guess. Well, all right.
Sure, he's played arcade games.
I just thought Air Force people just fly.
That's all you do. Hey, Masters, what is that? Oh, it's a gun. I bought it. You don't get the touch gun, stupid. Get in the plane right now. That's what you do. Navy guy, ouch. Get in the boat. That's all you get. And then, like you said, Luther has a tank. For a guy that can afford a tank, I think he can afford a fireproof safe or somewhere else to hide his money.
Or just a better location. I mean, he's basically right in the open. Yeah. You know, for like, it's not like he's a drug dealer who has drugs, money, and tons of weapons right in the open. Like there is no hiding where he is. So like, yeah, if he can afford all this stuff, why did he not have like a better location?
Exactly.
And how much they do seem to be in the middle of nowhere. You know, they're not in a populated town. How much business can he really do there?
Dude, he's like the main guy, so I'm sure people fly in and he gives them like pounds to sell.
You think he's that big of a drug dealer that people are flying in to get the drugs?
I don't know. Well, I don't think people are. I'm saying maybe like the pushers come pick it up, but that's what I was trying to think. Like, what's his story? Like, how does he operate there? Like you said, but how does he have the money to get a tank? Or did the tank come with the base?
It might have came with the base. It might have been a deal. You take the base, you get the tank. You know, but okay. So, but Wheeler is a drug pusher as well, and who is she selling it to? There's no one around.
The kids in the juvie. Chappy, how's he dance like that? And he's doing Deo at 5 a.m. He's definitely doing cocaine.
All right. If you think if her business is basically 4 middle schoolers and Chappy, I don't know if she's making a lot of money. I feel like it's better locations for drug dealers. I'm just saying, because even when they're driving around, they're chasing them. There's literally no houses. There's nothing around. They're in such a big open area state that I don't know. You know, again, there's only 5 people in that entire place where Chappy is, and then there's only 2 where that woman lives. You know, where Masters was. You know, like there's really nobody.
There's really no extras in this movie. The only extras we really ever see is at the competition.
Yes.
That's it. Really. Oh, and in the military at the end of the movie, like every so often we do see some people, but it's probably the same people over and over.
Yeah, but that's a military base. Yeah. So like there's nobody outside of the military or drug dealers.
And like you're talking about with Luther, he's just firing this tank willy-nilly. Like he doesn't have to. They're trying to drive away in a Jeep and he keeps missing. And then he doesn't realize that he's aiming at his own friggin' trailer, that he blows it up.
I mean, and I would assume tank bullets cost a lot of money, and you don't have that many of them. So he just wasted pretty much probably his whole arsenal on going after this girl.
Again, for $2,000. I know she's stealing guns. I get that, but murder? Murder? So then at the same time, you're talking about Chappy when he delivered the toiletries. And then the guy said, yeah, they have you doing a job like that? He's like, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Guess that was like a poop joke.
Well, definitely was a poop joke. Yeah. But they couldn't think of a better product to be bringing along in that Jeep, like the toiletries. Of all the things they, you know, I mean, yeah.
I thought when he took the guy's manifest at the gate, which somehow he was at the gate before the gate, because somehow he was able to convince that guy to let him take over. And then he drove a little forward, and then there was another gatekeeper, which again. But
here's was Chappy a general or something? Okay. So they're going to think a general is delivering toiletries.
Exactly.
All right.
And then at the same time, Kitty and Pete are in the back because Kitty's the hacker. They walk right in through the front door. Wouldn't they be like, hey, these are the juvenile kids because their photos are on records. Watch out for these kids on the base. No, she's able to get to a computer and hack in, and we're able to find out that it's not nuclear, it's bio warfare with viruses.
And let's just say that she might be one of the best hackers I've ever seen. Because what she does later on is unbelievable.
And don't worry, I have that queued up. So I'm sorry about that one.
All right, good.
So now you just have, so now they escape. They're able to get out in time. Pete is smart enough when the doors get locked from the outside because they know somebody's accessing the computer. Pete uses a chain, rips the door off. Somehow one or the other. How did that happen? So the door gets ripped off. Chappy and Kitty get into there. And then with the door that was on the ground, some Air Force guy was like, hey, let me jump on this and grab it. What were you going to accomplish?
Well, he was going to follow the truck. He's going to, Well, you wouldn't do that?
I think the stunt guy was like, hey, man, somebody's got to try this, man. It's so much fun.
Listen, that's something Indiana Jones would do.
Yes.
But he's not Indiana Jones.
Or like somebody, I feel like they do that gag in, what did we see that in? We saw that in one movie and we like talked about it because it looks
it's also, it's sort of, isn't it in Speed? Sort of like when the floor goes out and no, it's not in Speed. Is it
no,
Speed?
it's in Speed when he's underneath the plane. When he's on the wheel thing underneath. Yeah. Which is that real? I don't want to go off on a tangent, but whoever thought of that, like, hey, the bus has a bomb. Let's send a guy on a little kind of like mechanic, like wheel thing to lay on to go under it.
But the floor of the bus gives out like that. What would be the purpose? It really serves no purpose. So yeah, that's weird.
So then we get Chappy. He sneaks onto another base in like, I love the car that he's driving too, because he's like driving and then he just like blows past the gate and nobody kind of stops him. He could be
the worst
anyone.
The worst security.
And Al Waxman, General Kettle, he's like working out in the empty thing. He's sweating, wearing a sweatsuit. And
okay, hold on. He does not look like a guy that works out.
No.
Okay, so I don't know if that was for show. I mean, the show that he's actually working, guy's extremely, he's overweight, let's just say, and he's not in shape. There's no way he works out.
No.
So I'm not sure why they had to get him there.
Yeah, but you know that him and Chappy go way back because right away when he's like, "Oh, Chappy, this is great," and he's like, "Hey, everyone, if so and so shows up, shoot them on sight." And you're like, "Whoa."
Well, was he in the first movie? Like, was he a recurring
I don't
character?
think so. No,
right.
He's in a ton. I feel like he was like in Meatballs 2. Or
no, he also had so many people in this movie. They had such a familiar face. Like he's another one. I feel like I've seen him in something or something. They're probably a lot of them were all like side characters in movies that you just see it so many times you don't realize it.
Yeah, he's a big time Canadian actor, and I even feel like I'm not gonna look it up now. I feel like he's in Meatballs 3. I don't know what he could have been, but I feel like he was in Meatballs 3. I'm gonna rewatch that again. So then we get Rudy. So it's Rudy and Dana in the plane together because they're doing recon. So this is where he tries to pull like a wheeler, and he gets really low when these military guys are just like, I don't even know what they're doing. They're just sitting on a road. He gets really low. And how about the one guy? He's like, give me that. This is the dumbest thing. So if they in their minds go, hey, we're going to shoot down this plane. Like in their minds, they're like, we're not shooting to scare them. We're shooting to kill them, right? Why is only one person shooting? I'm sure they have more than one gun, right? And the guy's like a Bronson. He hits one shot, plane starts smoking, and it's going down.
I was saying, like, what are those guns going to do to a plane? But apparently, I guess, those bullets can stick down a whole plane.
Yeah, well, not from the front. From the front, it didn't do much. But when it turned, he somehow hit, like, the weak point, like in a video game, like when you're going against the boss, like the red glowing part. Because as soon as he shot that, it started smoking. And holy crap. When they get to that part, and you have Rudy and Dana are making a run for it, and
oh, my goodness.
Right away, you think, they're just going to run away, right? No, the same guy that shot Rudy down shoots him.
That that scene was unbelievable. I was like, they did not just do this. And then I'm thinking like, all right, the kid is probably wearing some kind of vest, or, it hit his cell phone or something, or hit something on him. So like it didn't pierce him. No, he really gets shot.
He really gets shot. I thought he was dead.
Although, I mean, does he really get shot? Because he's able to drive a car, a little later on. So, I questioned the severity of the shot that he got. So.
Yeah. And then at that point, again, those Air Force guys were in the mindset like, hey, we're going to kill these kids because they know what's going on. So why did they all run? Except the one guy who was running, and Doug Masters has like, I don't know, like a rifle from the Civil War, because he fires it just straight in the air and the guy stops and like.
Well, I mean, considering the planes they're flying, I'm not surprised that he's got a gun from, the Civil War, and let's back up. I mean, when he gets shot, by the way, they make it look like he's dead. Oh, he's not moving. He's laying in the grass. Yeah. So you're thinking, and they don't show that too much in movies. Like they don't really show kids getting shot in movies, no, they actually, this kid went flying, like, you would think it went like off screen and then you see the kid laying down. No, you see the kid get shot.
Yeah. He drops to the ground, and they even put a jacket over him.
Yeah.
And Doug puts a jacket over him, like to cover him. And I'm like, that means he's dead, right? Like,
but he only gets shot in the arm, right? I mean, the way they made that look, I mean, come on. Okay. I've never been shot before.
You haven't?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Oh. I know.
I mean, I might have been shot at.
I aspire to be shot. You see how it feels, right?
You just want to see what it feels like. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong. And if anyone out there has been shot, please, tell me if I'm wrong. But getting shot in the arm is just like, like getting a needle. It's not like getting shot in the head or shot in the chest. I always think like, shot in the arm is not going to hurt as much. It's an arm. Great. How much can it really hurt?
Oh my God. You think people compare that? They start arguing at like the VFW bar, and they're like, where'd you get shot? They get shot in the arm. Oh, get out of here, you pussy. You were barely in the war.
That's like in Jaws when they're showing all the injuries. And
she broke my heart in the third grade.
And Brody's like looking for like a scratch or something. And he has nothing.
So how about the next scene when they're interrogating the one guy?
Oh,
I had to, if you're watching this on YouTube, but I'll explain it. I have a picture of the wasp's nest. That looked pretty good. The way it was moving and stuff.
I've been wanting to ask you what that was, because it looks like Jason's mask from the first movie. Like I was trying to figure out what it was. This scene. Okay, so first of all, we're adding kidnapping to the charges. Yeah. So we already have murder. Now we have kidnapping, and the torture these kids are about to do is insane.
It is. It's breaking everything that was written in the Geneva Convention. You're not able to torture people like this. And I love when when Doug is talking about when he was in the Soviet prison, and he's like, what should we do? Should we waterboard, whipping bamboo under the fingernails? And it's like, no. And he looks up and there's a wasp nest. I'm like, why would they be that close to it? First of all.
Yeah. And who would think to do that? I mean, first of all, it's extremely, not, if you're looking at answers, that's a good way to do it. But that's pretty sadistic. Like to even come across that and think that's a good idea.
And who would think the wasps are going to be that cooperating, that they're going to go right into this plastic sleeve and not sting you?
Well,
are they loyal to them? I know they do perfectly.
And where did they get that sleeve? It looked like it was made. It looked like it was made for the wasp nest.
It was like the perfect size,
It really. It's like, really, what was that sleeve? Like it looks. It almost looks like it's a wasp torture device that just feeds the wasp nest.
Doug's been thinking about this for a long time. He carries it with him everywhere, and he's like, oh shit, I know, I can go get it. Let me go get it for my car.
Maybe he was going to use it on Chappy because he's been mad all this time.
And he's like, are you get it ready? I've been waiting to see you for 7 goddamn years. I'm going to find some wasps. But I love that the guy was like maybe allergic, because within seconds he sang like a canary.
Well, again, in this movie, the military kind of weak. I mean, Doug did the same thing when he was in Russia. So there's definitely no loyalty to their countries. They're. I mean, you would think, all right, it is wasps. The wasps, they may not kill you right away. At least, like, get a couple bites before you say, all right, I had enough. No, he didn't even get. They started getting close, and right away he's singing. Like, he didn't even try it. Like, he didn't even try to tough it out.
Well, Doug's description of it was kind of like, he's like, like bees sting once and then they're dead. Wasps, they sting 4, 5, 6 times, and the guy was like sweating.
Okay, but it's not going to kill you. I mean, it based on the torture, the waterboarding, or the bamboo under the nails, I would take the wasps.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like, I'm getting off easy.
Yeah. Mel Gibson's getting his ball shocked, and this guy can't even like attempt a one wasp.
He got his ball shocked.
Yeah. They shocked his stomach.
What movie?
Al Young in Lethal Weapon. They have him hung up.
Oh yeah.
With the car battery.
He didn't get his balls. They didn't aim down there. Although, how about in Casino Royale, he gets whipped in the nuts.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Ouch.
And this guy can't put a bag of bees on his head. Come on.
Tough it up, man. Don't give that guy the nuclear codes. He'll give him up in seconds. So then General Kettle, the next part, he turns on Chappy. Son of a bitch. So now it's Chappy, Kitty, and Peter. What would you think? At this point, just like any good bad guy, right? Well, not really a good bad guy, a bad guy. Because once you kill them right now, they know your secret.
Correct. And he calls Chappy a traitor. Now, this is a guy who's a military guy.
Yeah.
If anyone's a traider, this guy is. And he's calling
that's the
Chappy
definition
a traitor.
of traitor. Yeah. He's doing something that's illegal and not right to do. Yeah.
I never understood that in movies where the bad guy always leaves the people that they should kill right away, to still be alive, or they're like, all right, take care of this. They leave, and then the main guy walks out, and it's never taken care of.
I know.
Like, like, do it right there, and then you never have a problem. Like, if these bad guys were smart, they would never have a problem.
And then the movie would only be 10 minutes. So then we get Wheeler. She's stressed about, she wants to go after the guy who shot Rudy. And that's when Doug calls Chappy. And this is like, again, I'm not going to compare it to Rambo 2, but it has that element of him grabbing the phone from Chappy. So it's Kettle talking to him, and he's like, you were a coward in that prison. And it's like, whoa. And then he comes in, he goes, let's load up. And you get, again, this is kids going against the Air Force. I know they're bumbling, they're morons, they don't know what to do the right thing, but still, we're about to see, and we don't know what we're going to get, And
again, this is the United States military that you're going to start killing. I mean, that's insane.
So then we find out what this is going to be about. So they want to use this smallpox in order to curb communism in Cuba. So that is what that's what the U.S. military is worried about in 1995 when you have like the Gulf War. They want to worry about Cuba, who's not trying to attack us at all.
This is pretty deep and involved for an Iron Eagle 4. Like a fourth movie in a franchise to go this deep of the kind of chemical weapon it is and what they're trying to do is like, that's pretty heavy. Like, that's something for like a first movie, not the fourth movie down. That's like, at this point it should be like, well, I guess by the time you get a fourth movie, it's usually over the top anyway.
Yeah. And then you have him talk, it's called Pandora's Box. And his big gripe about communism was the refugees that are coming into our country and the people that are packing up our beaches in Florida. That's his. Oh man, so maybe they're supposed to be in Florida.
All right,
because he says that line. He says packing up our beaches in Florida. So
well, if they are in Florida, I still don't think the plane's making it to Mexico.
No, I don't think so.
But I mean, I think I can understand where he's coming from. I mean, if you're a beach person, I mean, I would be pissed off too.
So great. All right. So then this is, the next scene is wild. again, he walks out of the room. So he's in there. They're in this chamber. The doctor's explaining everything. And you get him just walking like right out of this room. You get Kettle is like, okay, see you guys later. I'm like, whoa, what the frick's going on?
The same trope in every movie.
Yeah. And this is it. So she kind of like just explains it to Chappy, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. It's a smallpox vaccine and we can control it because we'll have the vaccine for it. So people have to listen to us. And then he just says, Kitty, press the button. She's like hacking. Nobody's watching Kitty on a computer.
Right. It is a very small room. So the fact that no one can see, and she's looking directly at both of them. Yeah. She's literally looking at both of them.
And she goes, and he just says, Kitty now. Smoke comes down. Some guy starts firing a gun and all hell breaks loose in there.
There's 3 people in their room. Not one person saw Kitty do that. And she's so good at hacking, she did it with one hand. And she did it sideways. Like she wasn't even facing the keyboard.
And she's that good. And now we're watching 4 or 5 people
get murdered. Yeah. And absolutely not even die, be tortured. Like probably that's gotta be one of the worst deaths of choking on gas and like that. And they're watching these are kids, young kids watching that, no remorse. And again, another trope in movies, they always do this. They spill the entire plan to the good guys right before something happens. Like they have the need to always tell them exactly what's going to happen.
I do love that. I guess maybe when you're so evil, you have this plan that you worked on for years, and
you're so excited to tell them.
I gotta tell someone.
But it happens all the time. All the time.
So then this whole part is insane too, because now you have Chappy. This is where Chappy knocks a guy out. So this is like maybe the only time that I guess Chappy would get charged with murder there, right? He'd be aiding and abetting.
Right. Yeah.
But the fact that he knocks some guy out, takes his radio just so he's able to talk to Doug and be able to find out what's going on. And then he calls and he talks about Kettle. Again, like you said, he tells him the whole plan. We're going to have this jet. It's going to drop it, right into Cuba, and it's going to leave in an hour, and like, just spill it all.
Yeah. If you're smart bad guys and you really have the need that you got to tell them, you're so excited that this brilliant plan, tell them, but then kill them right away. Yeah. Like it never happens that way. They tell them and then they walk out and say, all right, take care of them. And it never pans out. It's just the same thing every movie.
At this very same time, Kitty and Peter sneak onto the plane, which is absolutely insane because it's not that big. And somehow they're hiding on this cargo plane with how many people are on it? Like 4 or 5 guys?
Well, again, I mean, she just hacked the computer in front of 3 other military people that are all staring. So you saw that what happened. It was a circle room. So in a circle room, there's no corners. You can't hide anywhere. You see everything. So the fact that they didn't see her playing with the computer is ridiculous.
she's that good.
So I'm not surprised that they didn't see them sneak on the plane.
And then Chappy gets held up by the nerdy Air Force guy. He comes out of nowhere and he's ready to take him. He brings him the Kettle, and then Kettle says, I guess I'll just have to shoot you myself, Chappy. And then boom, at that same time, airplane takes off. And he's like, there's no way to stop me now. The plan's already in motion. Which obviously this guy's smart enough to know that a plane can go in the air and not get to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, that was the end all. The plane leaving, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that Doug chose to go to the Air Force base and he pulls up next to a guy in like a brand new, like fancy jet, uses that gun to get him to come off.
Yeah, but again, at this point, Doug really hasn't, outside of the one guy he shot, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, his murder rate's not that high. Kitty,
it's not. These kids are, yeah. I think, you know what? I think Kitty might have done the most damage.
That is true, right? You should show.
We didn't talk about that, how they replaced paintball with bullets in those planes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like, does it work that way? Like if I put a bullet into a paintball gun, is it going to work the same way?
You know what? This is the same thing in Child's Play 3 when Chucky changed the bullets and all the kids started murdering each other. I don't think that should be the case. They don't look the same.
Correct. Not only that, it's not going to fit in the chamber the same way. Yeah. So, the fact that they replaced paintballs with bullets and shooting it like it's a machine gun.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this is where you mentioned before, Rudy's in the back of the car and he overhears them say, hey, I think they basically said like, hey, take that kid out.
Yep. No, he needs to go to a hospital now is what they said.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And they were taking him because they wanted to.
Yep.
I think that the people are probably treating him probably didn't know. Oh, remember how they found out? They said, I overheard on the radio there was a kid that got dropped off to the hospital that got shot in the back. And he's telling people that, oh my God, I have it written down somewhere. Oh, because what's her name is the one to bring him to the airplane. Doug's old boss was the one to drop him off. And just the whole line was like the worst exposition. Yeah, there's a kid that got shot in the back, and some old lady, the lady that dropped him off, said that the military shot him.
Okay, so let's talk about it a second. So he was running, he got shot in the back. He said he heard them say he got shot in the back. Why is his arm in a sling?
He fell and bumped it.
Because, I mean, I'm assuming there's no way they could have shot the arm because he was running away. So he was facing the other way, and he definitely got shot in the back. I mean, the way he got shot, but his arm's in a sling. So did he, like, the bullet didn't hurt him, but he fell, and when he fell, he landed on his arm the wrong way, and that's what really, really hurt him.
So then this kid steals the car, and we get, like, a mini, like, countryside OJ chase. Because he's just driving away, and this kid I guess he's driven before. Oh, maybe that's his secret. We never heard what his skill was. Maybe he hijacks.
Okay, but he's got one arm. To drive the way he was driving, maneuvering, and everything else with one arm is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And was it a military Jeep?
It was. No, wasn't it like a fancy, like, it looked like almost like a Grand Victoria, like those old big boat cars, because it was the general's car or the admiral's car.
You're right. Okay. I was going to say it's probably if it was stick shift. I mean, I don't know how he would do it with one hand doing stick shift and driving.
So then you think like, oh, can this movie get more intense? Yeah, we cut to the other kids in all the yellow Snoopy planes, and you have the Air Force behind them. And they're talking shit to each other. And then they lock in on these kids. And I'm like, holy crap. But then I'm like, how do they miss? He misses twice. And he's like, they're going so slow. I don't know. It doesn't work.
This is our military. I mean, this is our military, and they can't stop a Snoopy plane.
Yeah.
But how are they going to, this is the Air Force. How are they going to stop like a jet? The enemy's jet. That is okay. But a small, slow Snoopy plane, they can't handle.
Yeah, and the fact that guy, I guess he's not good with missiles because he misses with the missiles. But when he shoots like the machine gun, he actually shoots the kid. And he doesn't panic that much. He gets shot. And wouldn't you think all the air is sucking in there? No wind. It's just the glass is broken and he's just sitting there. Because I was thinking like, he's going to die. I thought he was going to get sucked out or something.
Well, again, when the back of the cargo plane also blows off, there's not a lot of wind. I mean, you're able to hold on to that. When these heavy boxes are being flown out of there, he's able to control it. So there might not, maybe the altitude that they're at, maybe there's not a lot of wind.
That is true. So here's one of the cool, I mean, I guess there is a lot of cool lines in this movie.
Like shooting birds in a cage. Missile lock? Someone's got missile lock on me. These old planes don't have missiles.
No, asshole, but I do.
Holy God.
And then boom. I wasn't expecting it. Again, they have to do it because if Doug doesn't shoot them down, that he's going to shoot the teens down.
Yep.
But dude, that was fast. No, but I do.
how can Chappy be okay with this? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's almost like they're all encouraged to kill as many people as they can. That's it. I mean, it's just insane. It's insane.
And it gets even crazier so the general calls Doug somehow in the plane. Oh, because he finds out that he stole like their jet, and tells him that he should have died in the prison years ago.
Wait, is it easy just to call a plane like that?
It's like, what plane is that?
I mean,
it's got to be difficult. It has to be. It can't be just, especially then. There must be some kind of. But no,
I would think a tower, not just a random, like, how does he know what plane he has up there? They'd be able to reach him on the.
Ridiculous. And then Chappy yells in the background while he's like kind of held up. He says, "Listen to the tape." And then they knock Chappy out. And then when he's about to press play, you're thinking music. No, it's Chappy sort of just saying a more detailed version of the summary he apologized earlier.
It's basically it's the apology that he already did.
Yes.
So there's no motivation. There's nothing. Yeah. It was like a Rocky speech, like an Adrian. It was an Adrian to Rocky kind of speech. Oh, did you?
I don't know if you see it, but Rocky.
You really expect me to? Yeah. It was an Adrian at Rocky. It was. But again, it wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything like, listen, the minute I found out, I was looking for you. Like, it was nothing. Like, it was a very simple apology that he already did.
And whatever jacked him up, because then we get a nice little jet fight and you have him locked in on the guy, which it was pretty quick. They were just flying back. And that guy was just like, he was crazy because he was just like, death, that's the only way. And Doug's like, eject. I guess that. So how do they talk to each other? Is it proximity? As soon as you get close enough, you can like channel into people.
The communication all around is just ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Well, all the student planes, they were talking to each other. I doubt those planes had that kind of technology.
Well, I'm sure they would know, like, hey, you're some certain number, but two random jets that don't know each other.
Yeah, but you're talking about these old time Snoopy planes. I'm sure in World War II they were not communicating with each other, and those planes look like World War II planes, bombers. Yeah. Like, so I mean, yeah.
But yeah, the guy doesn't eject, and boom, Doug blows him up. So Doug's at 3 kills now. So his kill count's going up.
I forgot. You're right. It is going up. And listen, he's also destroying expensive military equipment too.
He is, yeah, at the same time. So then this is like one of those parts that, like, as the viewer, when you're watching it, you're like, that Kitty and Peter are on the cargo plane, but no one else does. So I really thought something could have happened to them, because out of nowhere, the Snoopy planes start firing at the cargo plane and start shooting at them. And I'm like, holy shit, they have no idea.
Right.
They might be killing their friends.
In this movie, the way it goes, I think one of the kids should have died.
Which one?
It doesn't matter. I just think, as unrealistic as this half of the movie was, one of the kids should have, again, you almost had it. The kid got shot in the back. That should have been, just something, some kind of, I don't know. I just feel like one kid should have been gone. How
about like they could have set up, again, it's plain, so it's different. But if like Wheeler got shot and killed, then Doug, which their thing's more platonic, which I thought it was going to be different at the end, but maybe he would have been like bothered by that and like went like scorched earth or something.
Correct. That again. Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, something to me that would have been a bigger motivation for these kids to like turn it on if one of them died. And at this point, don't they think the other kid is dead anyway?
Rudy? No. Well, I guess they really don't know yet because they just know we went to the hospital. So yeah.
Okay.
So I guess they could have assumed that. But like you said before, like on the plane, like Peter, we haven't really seen what his skills are. Obviously, he helped him escape by ripping the door off with the chain and the Jeep. But in this one, he's like, don't worry, I got this. And he like whispers to Kitty, I'm like, what the hell is this guy going to do? And somehow he like some guy that is just standing there. Remember, he like the guy either is like smoking a cigarette or he's just like looking at his gun. And Peter like startles him. And then that's the guy that when they open the back of the cargo hold, it somehow just magically, right? Doesn't it grab onto him? He doesn't like Peter doesn't hook him up to it, right?
I don't, you know what? I don't remember.
I don't think he hooks that guy up. I just think it happens. The net grabs him and he gets pulled right off the plane.
Correct. Well, yeah, right. The net grabs him. But how does Peter hold on?
I don't know.
I don't understand. Like, I gotta assume that the thrust of the wind is way too hard to hold on to like that. That he quickly was able to wrap his arm around that whatever he was hanging on, and he was okay. He should have been like sucked out of there or something. That would have been much better.
That would have been very satisfying for me. You'd have been like, "Hey, kid just died." Finally.
Or maybe he had a parachute, and then all of a sudden you see that he had a parachute the whole time. You didn't realize it.
And then you get him with like a little like one-on-one fight scene. He takes his guy out. Oh, the pilot. Yeah, he takes the how about the pilot? This is something. So the pilot, I don't think he hits like an autopilot button. All he does is like push it up so it's like climbing, and he goes, "All right, I'm gonna go back there," and he just leaves.
Well, the pilot is like the I guess the placeholder in football, or like the punter. What is he really gonna do?
We just lost every punter and placeholder. Never listened to us. But yeah, so then they're like, and then Kitty is smart enough when Peter and the pilot are fighting. She goes up, she accelerates the plane, and then that causes the pilot to fall.
All right. So here's another thing I have. So I know someone that's a pilot. He's he flies a private plane for whatever. So I asked him this question. I said, can a pilot fly any plane? Like, I asked him, would you be able to fly a commercial plane? Because he only flies the small private planes. He goes, no, it's way different. So these kids are only flying Snoopy planes. How is she just quickly jumping in there and able to fly that plane?
Yeah, well, they were very panicky that she was flying that plane, but no, you're right. So wait, so we have our first expert. You reached out to somebody and we got
I did. And you cannot, just because a commercial flight cannot fly a private plane, just the buttons, the gears, everything is very different. So
why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just make it uniform? Why would it be like, it's like if I get in like a Ford and I drive a Hyundai, it's not like I get in and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I don't know. Is the wheel go this way or that way?
Friend of the podcast, Robert Hayes, was able to do it.
Yes, that is true.
Twice.
Yes. So great. So then this is the part. Where are they right now? In the plane, the cargo plane.
In the plane.
Because where do you think they are?
How long was the plane flying for?
I don't know. It seems like it was not that long. So let's say they are in Florida. They dropped that virus into Florida because Peter right away just starts throwing it out. Why'd they have to do that? They were going to land it. All the other bad guys, well, I know they don't know everyone's dead. But
did it land in water?
I guess they could drop it in water. But why would they risk throwing it out? Because now they killed even more people. Their kill count's going up.
And again, they're in a plane. So at this point, they have to be very far away from everybody else right now.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't be near them at all.
I know.
They should be like 4 states away.
They should do that like Batman does. And he does it in the first one. He takes the balloons and the Joker's balloons and he like releases them to there. They should have done that with that. Those kids should have parachuted off and just send it off into, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somewhere. No, it just made no sense. And then we get the general for the third time. This is the third time that he had this long-winded speech about, Chappy and he's going to kill him. And then boom, Doug flies in just in time and he just blows everything up. He just starts taking stuff out.
See, it would have been more satisfying if the general was like trying to get away in a car, like like they are in the middle of nowhere and they dropped the virus on him.
Well, it sort of happens that way. Well, not that way.
Not that way, but
it's kind of twisted. The end of the movie is kind of like,
yeah.
I was not expecting him to do that.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so the fact that this is the next part, the general's like running out of the thing, and it's funny because not like it's funny because he's overweight, but it's just funny watching him run because he runs and he sees all the cops and the military police coming. So he just like turns around like skids, and then you see him just run off camera, and then you're like, holy shit, he's going to the virus room. He opens it up and he kills himself.
Yep. Well, don't forget, he was running in the middle of the movie and working out.
He was.
So he is a runner.
He's a runner, yeah.
But yeah. Why? Like, he'd rather do that than go to prison? I guess. But see, again, that's
treason.
Not,
I guess it's sort of treason, but it's really not.
Of course it is. No, it is. But at the same time, I think it'd be more satisfying because they had it in the air, drop it, and he like lands on his car or something like that, it's like something where he, the product that he was trying to push, he gets, by accident, not because he did it himself, because he got the easy way out.
No, that is true. But no, and again, just to talk about, I'll talk about it in a second. But so the very end of the movie, so you get Joanne trying to sneak out, and then Doug convinces her to stay, using the line that Chappy does about like, hey, we'll find a replacement. How long is he going to take? A couple days, couple weeks, I don't know, 7-8 months.
Okay, now, so Doug was away for 7 years. He was probably in his mid-20s.
No. He was a teenager in the first one.
Oh, he was.
Because that was the thing that was kind of wild about the movie, was his dad was captured. He was like only like 16 or 17.
Okay, so he's 24, she's 18. All right, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, she's legal.
Oh, she's legal. He's only 24. I mean, she's in college. She's a freshman in college, and he just graduated.
That's true. And also, not even that. If she's 18 and she's drug dealing, she's punching men, she's throwing grenades.
So she's mature for her age.
She's mature.
She's mature for age.
So then the end of the movie is pretty funny because, again, just what the movie was, what we thought in the beginning, we thought it was like sort of like a Scared Straight for kids. We didn't expect all this murdering, virus getting released, smallpox, all this crazy shit. Then the end of the movie, I think, is pretty cool because it's like a new crop of Scared Straight shows up.
Okay. So it's obviously known that these kids were kind of forced to do murder.
Yeah.
Were put in extreme dangerous situations. So obviously this program is not good for these kids. So let's just start all over again. And not only that, let's make these kids instructors. Yeah. They're middle schoolers and now they're instructors.
They did nothing. They got no time. And I do like that one of the Snoopy planes, they didn't even get the upgrade of the planes. Couldn't they have for saving Cuba and not making our country look bad? Couldn't they have thrown a couple like jets their way? No, still the Snoopy planes. And the one's doing like a loop-de-loop and the kid's like, his line's like, you're going to teach us to do that?
And you're right. They literally stole and murdered and kidnapped. Now they get promoted.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was Iron Eagle 4. That's one movie that we were really excited to obviously talk to Jason, talk to one of the stars of the movie. But just because it's a franchise, it's a really odd franchise because it is the only one of its kind, like a plane, like jet military based franchise. I think it's the only one.
You might be right. Like I said, I think it came out around the same time as Top Gun, or within a few years. Obviously, again, it was like the poor man's Top Gun. The first one I remember being big. I mean, I owned it on VCR. It was awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's got a good theme running throughout. This is like Death Wish 4. It takes it to the whole nother level.
Yeah. So would you recommend somebody to check this out? It's free. You can watch it free at a ton of places.
I would say yes, because it's such well. And the only reason is because you have to see a movie where the first half is literally a kid's movie. It's like if you're an adult and you're watching this, you're probably on the verge of shutting the movie off. You're like, all right, you know what? I thought I was watching a cool flying military movie. and I'm seeing these corny guys singing Deo and whatever, and it's like, you know, like these troubled kids. It's like, it's a typical kids movie. I don't want to watch it. But right before you turn it off, you get your first murder. And then it becomes, you know, all hell breaks loose. So you have to see how it switches from kids movie to like Rambo.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually watch it too because I love Lou Gossett in the role, like we mentioned earlier. It's like Toy Soldiers, but just like a different take on it, like with the planes and everything. But no, just like you said, the way this movie goes from kind of like harmless to
and very harmless,
like very harmful. Like a lot of people are not only the people that died in this movie, but the plan,
the way they died. Like there wasn't like, it wasn't, there's die by gas, die by explosion, die. Like, I mean, like there's like gruesome deaths for like kids. So yeah, no. And you know, if you are a Lou Gossett fan, and he's awesome, he literally looks like he's having fun with this movie. The role he's playing and the way he's acting, like he looks like he's having a good time. Like, I mean, and he knows what kind of movie it is probably. And it's like, I would assume it's closer to the end of his career. Like, I don't know how much more he did after this, but he's having a good time making this movie. You could totally tell he had fun.
Oh yeah, dude. All right. So that was Iron Eagle 4. The next movie sequel that we'll be covering is Robocop 3. Now, this is one movie that I haven't seen the whole thing in years, but the cast is unbelievable. You have young Jeff Garland, Bradley Whitford, Stephen Root, Rip Torn, and a wonderful, funny actress that I was lucky enough to interview, Jodi Long. This interview is one of the early ones that I did, and I thought I lost it, but luckily I found it. So I'm very excited because editing it is, man, top notch. I was umming and saying awesome every other word, but she was.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't even know if I ever saw it. I got to remember. I mean, I remember 1 and 2. I'm not sure if I remember 3. Is it as violent as the first one?
I believe so.
Okay.
The opening scene, Jodi's in the opening scene. She plays Nico, who is like one of the main characters later in the movie. She plays Nico's mom in this like ridiculous. It's over the top. And we talk about it a lot during the interview. I think she was like, you got to think all the interviews that we've done. She's like one person that I talked to that said, oh, I really thought you were going to ask me a lot about RoboCop 3. So I was actually kind of nervous because I didn't remember a lot of it, but she had some great stories from it. She was friends with Peter Weller in New York City. So when she got the set and realized it wasn't Peter Weller in this one, it's probably like money wise, and she actually just recently won a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Daytime Fiction Program for a role on Netflix's Dash and Lily. And yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast, and don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.